clarify, we are doing a live on 4 different subjects that we're going to talk about. Obviously, the UFC Paramount deal, what does that mean? It means $66 versus $96 yearly. Still not a bad price, but there was a slight adjustment in the yearly pass and what have you. So we go from $66 to $96, right? And that is the new era of Paramount as we speak. I told you before, and MMA Joey has also mentioned this, they will have premium events. For example, if John Jones was to fight, if Conor McGregor was to fight, well, you're going to have to pay a little bit more, maybe $30 extra. Still not bad, because you're talking about $96 on a yearly spent for Paramount, and then you got an extra $30 or maybe $40. Still, that's $150 total, you know, with tax to be taken into consideration for a whole year. $150 for a whole year. Not bad. Not a bad deal at all. So the other subject we're going to talk about as well is the current ICE shooting in Minnesota. A lot of controversies behind it. A lot of people are for it. A lot of people are against it. But we're going to get to the bottom of it. The nuances. Because what a lot of people who steer one particular political direction, what they don't like to do is look at nuances, gray lines, and different variations of possibilities, and also exploring through deduction what is plausible and what isn't. Also, what is a mere fact, what is something that you can measure through data and metric. That's something that we're going to talk about on this one. The other subject that we're going to talk about, obviously, there's been a lot of fraud going on in Minnesota as well, right? Something that I haven't really talked much about in this channel. I know that the other political channels have made their rounds on that particular subject and started delving into, let's say, the fraud cases that the Somalis are doing. Well, the other argument of that is you guys are worried about Somalians, yet, for whatever reason, you're not worried about that Middle Eastern country in the Middle East that I dare not mention that raises a blue flag, okay? You're worried about the Somalis doing what they're doing, which, by the way, yes, by the end of the day, it's still illegal. By the end of the day, what the Somalis are doing is not something lawful. And on top of that, you can argue that, yeah, taxpayers have to go in there and pay for the mishaps of what these people are doing. There's an argument to be made of that. But we're going to look at those nuances because the top title and the top topic that we're going to talk about for this morning in this very candid and, how do I say this, very spontaneous live stream is we're going to talk about Khabib. He said not lawful is criminal. Not lawful is criminal. Okay, so that's a very good point. Real Hillbilly, shout out to you, my man. Shout out to Real Hillbilly. Let me know what part of the world you are from. I know that's probably more than likely you're in the United States, as I am as well. Sacramento, California, right here representing. Let me know what part of the United States you are from. And he says, not lawful is criminal. Very interesting. What does he mean by not lawful is criminal? Well, are we going to argue that what they did is so criminal that it could potentially harm people in a way that, let's say, is detrimental to their health, right? What is more detrimental to a person, right? Let's say you are Brian Thompson, the CEO and the former president of United Healthcare, who was assassinated by Luigi Mangione, right? And you look at Luigi Mangione and his reasons behind what he did. There's a lot of people that sympathize with what Luigi Mangione did. And in fact, so much so, there is a bit of some leeway in the potentiality of them perhaps maybe getting him acquitted, because they didn't read him his Miranda rights, which is crazy to say, right? UHC is a criminal organization, Real Hillbilly says. So there you go, right? So that is a criminal organization, and the problem is they didn't commit a crime, okay? But here's the thing. The Somalis are not out there taking your pills. They're not out there taking your medication. They're not out there committing transgressions against you that could be detrimental to your health or overall focus of the world, right? What the Somalis are doing is self-serving, which, by the way, leads me into the conversation with Khabib, because a lot of people right now are very upset with Khabib, because there's been a lot of investigation going into his record. A lot of people are saying that what Khabib did in his early pro career was nothing short of a falsification of a pro fighting career. Now, why are they saying that? Well, there's some people on the record that fought Khabib who were 0-2, 0-1, and then in one case of Islam Makhachev, there was one guy who fought one time in his whole entire career. He's 0-1, and it was against Islam Makhachev. And the only thing that I have to say to that is a couple of things with the Dagestanis, right? Because this is obviously the main event of our whole entire live stream. You need to understand that, like the Somalis committing fraud, there is a self-serving aspect of their motivation and actions. And as a result of that, what the Dagestanis are doing is within the act of self-preservation, within the act of being able to take it slow and being able to allow themselves to develop into the athletes that they need to be. You understand? So that is what is going on with the Dagestanis. That is what is going on with their record. And a lot of people have said, well, this is false because one was an amateur bout, one was held not even in a cage, inside a mat, right? And I understand the frustrations of people, right? But by the end of the day, I got to be honest with you, what's going to come out of Khabib is absolutely nothing. He's still going to be an undisputed former champion. He still beat Conor McGregor. He still beat Dustin Poirier. He still beat Justin Gaethje at the end of his career. And the reason why he was able to do that is because of the meticulous matchmaking that his father did. In other words, he decided, you know what, I'm not going to put you out there against the best guys in the world straight away. But here's the thing, right? You guys don't understand the level of fighting that is in Russia. So you're complaining about Khabib fighting a guy that was 0-4. Did it ever occur to you that those guys that he fought, the 4 previous opponents that beat him, may have been top-level guys, right? And we don't know how far these people extended their careers, because just like what I mentioned with that one guy that fought Islam Makhachev one time and then never fought after that, there's a lot of guys like that in Dagestan. You see, a lot of people think that these Dagestanis have this single economic prosperity in just mixed martial arts alone. And that's further from the truth. You see, they are involved in other sectors, such as engineering, medical. So you got doctors, you got people that work in paramedics, and then some of them join the military, right? In particular, the Chechnyan military led by Ramzan Kadyrov. And then many of them go on to, let's say, have bodyguard jobs, right, with their military career that they served in the Russian military or Chechnyan military, or one or the other, right, which is basically one and the same. But the point of the matter is their sector of society is not just predicated on fighting. They are involved in many different aspects of life. And as a result of that, this is the reason why you see guys with those types of records. This is the reason why you see guys that have fought a lot of people who are, quite frankly, really good, right? So, yeah, I get it though, but I get it. Some of these events looked suspicious because they didn't have a mat. Some of it was fought in a boxing ring, which was taking place in Khabib's gym. But here's something you got to understand about Dagestan during that time. During that time, in Dagestan, it was very difficult for a lot of people to get fights. Very difficult. It wasn't easy to get in there and find fights. It was not easy for the Dagestanis to get fights at the time. And we're talking about 07, 08. And during this time, the UFC was on the rise. There were other organizations around the world like WEC. You had, what was that in Japan? Shoot Fighting. I believe you had Shoot Fighting. Or Pancreas. They're like 400 to 500 events deep in their catalog, right? In their numbered events. They're like up to Pancreas 500 or something like that. Whereas the UFC right now is currently at UFC 324 and 325, right? So, all right, so that's the reality. That is the reality of Khabib's entire apparatus and vicinity to which he was growing up under, right? It was very difficult for him to get fights. So what did they have to do? They had to go and organize something. They had to organize their own fights so that once they get those fights going, then they can get the attention of the bigger leagues at the time, which was the UFC, WEC. At the time, there was also Strikeforce. There was Dream Fighting Championships, if you guys remember. The point of the matter is, for whatever reason at the time, maybe it was the Cold War scare, or maybe just Russia phobia that they had going on, Russia was very underrepresented during that time. Okay? Very underrepresented. Very underrepresented. Russia at the time was very underrepresented, so they had a very difficult time finding fights. And as a result of having that difficulty finding those fights, they had to create their own fights in their own gyms, in their own mats, whatever facility that they could find. And also, in light of that, any opponent that they could find. And here's the thing. I told you guys, MMA in Dagestan and Chechnya is very advanced. Why? Primarily because of the wrestling. The wrestling is ultimately what makes that advance. Let's see, what did my man here say? Excited Solar System says, long live ICE, real Americans support ICE. Okay. All right, so that's fine. We can jump around into different subjects or this and that. I understand the value of law and order, right? Even though I know a lot of people and have friends on the other side of the law, right? I have a lot of friends on the other side of the law, but I've also grown up with a lot of people that went on to become law enforcement, people that I've served in the military with that have also gone into law enforcement, right? So I understand both sides. Here's the thing, right? When it comes to jurisdictions, how much power are we supposed to give ICE in the middle of American streets when they are dealing with, let's say, American people, in particular, this 37-year-old mom? Now, I gotta be honest with you guys. I'm under the belief of, hey, listen, F around and find out. Okay, F around and find out. If you're gonna try to run me over with a car, all bets are off. I'm gonna do what it takes for self-preservation and the protection of my own well-being at all cost. There's no doubt about that. There is no way you're going to catch me slipping in any particular degree whatsoever. None whatsoever. You're never gonna catch me slipping. As a result of that, I'm gonna do what it takes to defend myself, defend my homies that are around me, defend my family that is around me. And that's all there is really to it. So, my man over here says, get a job. Isn't it funny that you're telling me to get a job, yet I'm sitting in a car with a sunroof and leather seats, and you're telling me that I need to get a job when you probably don't even have $5,000 in your bank account? He says, that beard is slipping hard. Okay, well, that's your own opinion. I mean, kind of a weird thing for you to have an observation of another man and to judge him in that kind of way, but whatever, right? You're one of these people that likes to pick on any little things that you can so that you can get a rise out of people or just feel better about yourself. Now, here's the thing, right? A person like you who's not a winner in life, who's never experienced any of the valuable moments, any of the great moments that they can achieve, right? Like, let's say, getting a college degree, or winning tournaments, winning fights, or going out there and accomplishing things at your job, right? Because I'll have you know that I mean, listen, I'm not here to talk about what I do or what I have going on, because all that does is it leads you into a can of worms with people trying to find out who you are and whatnot and this and that. I'm not here to be personal with you in any kind of degree, right? But understand this. I think there's indications that show I got a better life than you, and you're the one online that goes out of your way to try and make somebody feel bad because you want to go on the internet and have your voice be heard. Well, here it is. I'm letting your voice be heard. He says, sheep say bah. Yes. Excited says, bro said getting a college degree. LOL, straight programming. Look, here's something you got to understand. I know there is a common Republican belief, modern Republican belief, which is insane to say, right? Whatever happened to the old school Republicans, whatever happened to the old school Republicans that believed in college, right? And look, don't get me wrong, guys. I get it. We need people out there to be construction workers. We need people out there to be plumbers. We need people out there to have a trade. But you need to understand something. The majority of the networking that I've got in whatever field that I've been in. All right. He's gone. No. I'm here. I just wanted to make sure that my audio is good. Yeah, man. Marty, when I'm online and you know, and I'm asking if you know, if my audio is good, just write on the comment section below and let me know, my man, because I need to know like how I'm sounding or this and that, especially if I'm out on the road, because yeah, I'm not going to have any reference as to understand like if my audio is right or if I'm being heard or this and that. I don't just want to talk in the air and not know, you know, whether I'm really on or not. So yeah, please write on the comment section below. Let me know that yeah, let me know that the yeah, man, you know, be a moderator is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Let me know what's going on underneath. He says MAGA will find all the terrorists. We hear it all. MAGA will find all the terrorists. We hear it all. So what exactly do you mean by that, right? When you put the noun as MAGA or a group of people as MAGA, right? Who are those group of people? Now, obviously, are you talking about specifically law enforcement, people that are in the special forces or this and that? Here's the thing, right? I don't know if the whole entire law enforcement and military apparatus is full-blown MAGA. I don't know if that's the case, man. He says, what's up, El-Kheer? Good morning. Ghost Samurai. Shout out to you, my man. Shout out to you. How is your morning going, my man? Victory, hello. Yes. Been waiting on Victory to you know, respond, you know, because you got to give me signals, my man. You know what I mean? That's what you got to do. You got to give me signals around here, you know, so that we know where we're at, especially when you're on the road, because yeah, you know, you don't know what kind of internet connections you're going to run into as you're driving around the road. I wish I could just attach an internet connection into the car. Obviously, I got a pretty modern car as well. I don't know if it's capable of doing that the way that, let's say, a Tesla is. But on any regard, yeah, man, came here to do an Improv 2 live. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep it cracking for, you know, a little bit longer. Maybe for an hour or so, maybe for more than an hour, we will see. But on any regard, what we got going on here is, yeah, just an Improv 2. I didn't even put a thumbnail on it or anything. I just knew that these were particular subjects that we had to talk about. And hey, listen, I may not have all the fancy software, although I should get it, but, you know, it just seems easier to do content in this particular matter. Also, just doing this on the fly. I got a buddy of mine in New Jersey, right? He also does podcasting, but I met him when we were kids during the time of, like, East Coast freestyle ciphers. Everybody would come together, have a little cipher. People would freestyle. People would battle rap, right? That's the kind of culture that I came from in the East Coast, right? So he goes on to do films. He goes on to do a podcast as well. He does podcasts on relationships. The thing with him is has a little bit of a hard time sort of being consistent in making videos as a YouTuber, right? Because he has a mindset of a filmmaker, right? Whereas I found my own strength was not of filmmaking. It's not necessarily a production or this, that, or the other, which by the way, takes a lot of meticulous time. But rather, my skill set is on the ground, raw news reporting. Okay, and that's indicative of my background in college, you know, having a journalism media degree, right? Being able to convey a message, being able to convey a story. Those are skills that I have. So the best way to push my skills and then use it in a way that is conducive to, let's say, a good algorithmic habit by, let's say, doing multiple content a week. This is the best sustainable way to do it. I got to be honest with you, sometimes I'm a little hesitant to do videos, which is why I don't put out videos as much as I used to. I still put out videos, but we're talking about like twice a week, maybe even 3 times a week at best. But I found that the lives are a lot more easier. Not only are they a lot more easier, but they are also just quick to the point. And yeah, you know, but sometimes it's not quick to the point because live streams, you know, this is what a lot of live streams look like for a lot of people. When you watch people live streams, right? They just go like this. Yeah. So, what are you guys doing today? Yeah, what's up, guys? Yeah, what are we going to talk about today? They have no substance. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just going on live for the sake of going on live. But when I go on live, rest assured, you better understand there is full-blown dopamine content being thrown at you every second, right? Constant emotive conversations, stimulating conversations, current events, things that are relevant in the modern society today and the current landscape of the news. And then I relate all of that into MMA, because by the end of the day, as much as I do great in politics, as much as I do great in gang politics on top of street politics, I am an MMA channel by the core of it, and I never want to lose that. You know, Adam 22, one of the craziest things about Adam 22, right? His No Jumper channel on YouTube, which started in 2013, started out as a BMX channel. He was a BMX guy, and eventually he became a guy that interviewed SoundCloud rappers, and eventually he became the guy that interviewed underground rappers, and then it transitioned into a little bit of some mainstream rappers and a little bit of both, and now here we are today. No Jumper, the coolest gang podcast on YouTube. Okay, so Ghost says, great, Kier. I've been up and on YouTube since 2 a.m. interacting with Google cybersecurity behind the scenes. Wow, okay. Keep the content organic and natural like how you do it. It works. Okay, thank you so much, man. Thank you. And I noticed that does resonate with people, right? Is, you know, having a little bit of that, you know, reality, that raw reality that I'm giving to you guys, right? So those are some of the things that, yes, I offer here in this channel. So, all right, man, we are in Old Sacramento this morning right now. So let me give you guys a little bit of some visualization of where we are at right here. All right, why don't you say we get out and have a little bit of a conversation here, huh? And the only time that I don't ever really say anything is when I'm in the transition of going to one place to the next. So hold on just a second here. Don't worry, guys, I'm still here. Just had to shut off the camera for a little bit. All right. All right, here we go. Back on camera. Yeah, check this out. A little bit of a taste of the Wild West over here. Okay, so before we get to the other subjects that we're talking about, Khabib, so Marty brought up something earlier about their team getting popped for steroids, right? Multiple times. Man, I don't know what to say to that. I'm going to be honest with you, as a Khabib fan, I don't know what to say to that. At the same time, look, here's the thing that I have to really convey about that particular topic, right? Here's what I really want to convey about that. As much as I am a strong supporter of their team, and as much as I'm a big fan of Khabib, as much as he gave me a lot of memories in terms of all the big fights that he's gotten into, I have to be very objective about this, right? Because by the end of the day, it is me who has to have my own channel. It is me who has to have my own well-being, right? And Everything that I preach and talk about in this channel is about realness and telling the truth and also exposing the truth, even if that has to deal with, let's say, a friend of mine, or maybe, well, I wouldn't go to that extent, but to a certain extent, look, I'm going to tell the truth on certain things, right? So your reputation as a content creator is incumbent upon that. So you have to tell the truth. And the truth is, I really don't know what to say about Khabib and his team constantly getting popped for steroids. Now, I could come in here and create a big fuss of, let's say, nothing more than coping, right? I could come up with, you know, coping mechanisms. But the reality is, maybe sometimes the truth is a lot more, it's a lot more under your nose than you think. You see, the justification that I could come up with, let's say, well, they took medicine that they shouldn't have, they took supplements that they shouldn't have, and we all know there's a lot of different supplements out there that are banned by USADA, that are banned by drug testing agencies, right? But does that constitute them as being cheats? And then that's where the gray lines and nuances of things really start to get blurry. Then you start thinking to yourself, you know what? Maybe there's nuances to this. Maybe there's multiple variations and different ways to deduct all these plausible scenarios. Could it be that they took supplements that they thought was harmless? Or did they really know that they were taking steroids flat out? That's the question. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think? Because everybody seems to have a one-sided foregone conclusion about this. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, so on to the ICE shooting in Minnesota, right? That's the next thing I want to talk about, okay? That's the next thing I want to talk about, the ICE shooting in Minnesota. It's not as clear-cut one way or the other, right? Let me explain to you why. Let me explain to you why it's not as clear-cut. The reason why something like that is not clear-cut is because there are people who are citing there's a lawful command made by this ICE officer. There are people who say that this ICE officer was being ran over. In fact, let me tell you guys, right? You know Suge Knight. Suge Knight is in prison right now because he ran a man over. He ran a man over because he did not want to fight this man. I'm talking about Suge Knight, okay? He ran somebody over because he thought to himself, you know what, man? I don't want to get out and fight this guy. So what happened to Suge Knight as a result of that? He went to prison because he took his pickup truck and decided he was going to go ram this guy. Lazy Journalist says hi. Hello, Lazy Journalist. What an interesting name. What made you come up with a name like that? Let me know in the comment section below, man. Let me know how you came up with a name like that. Very interesting name, to say the least. All right. All right. I just wanted to show you guys that a little bit. So, okay, I got a question for everybody that's in the chat right now. Here's the question, right? Did the Somalis commit fraud? Or is it that they are in a situation where America is already committing fraud against you? You understand that, right? The Somalis, they were able to pull it off, and I'm going to tell you why. No group in the United States, very few people in the United States could pull off what the Somalis did. You want to know how they did it? They did it through unity and cohesion. That's how they did it. They did it because they knew that they can connect with each other as a single unit. You see, many Americans, except for the military, have a very difficult time of performing under these group conditions. You understand? Being able to work as a cohesive unit. That is not something a lot of Americans know how to do. But guess what? The Somalis know how to do that. And as the Somalis learned how to do that over the years because of their tie to their tribes, right? Everything about with the Somalis is about tribe, right? I knew this dude named Mustafa, and everything that he talked about in his Somali community was, you know, tribe this, tribe that. Oh, what about my tribe? What does my tribe think? Everything was predicated on that. So they work as a single unit to do that, to do these things, to commit these frauds, to outsmart you Americans. So I understand that it's unlawful, but is it really criminal? Right? And depending on what your definition of a criminal is, because, you know, for me, it doesn't seem like they really harmed anybody. Moy says hi. Hello, Moy. Let me know what part of the world you are from. Shout outs to you. Yeah, guys, let me know what part of the world you are from whenever you tap in to this channel right here. As we taking you guys around Sacramento right here.